to be here to discuss the importance of LGBT affirmative practices and also introduce our newly developed counseling handbook, which we are providing free of charge to all the attendees. So the purpose of this presentation is to shed light on the current challenges faced by sexual minorities and also to highlight the distinctive features of these counseling handbook that will help the mental health professionals to deliver affirmative assessment and intervention. Okay, so let's begin with a very brief overview of the current situation faced by sexual minorities in using mental health services. Sexual minorities experience high rates of psychological distress, depression, anxiety, substance use, and also suicide compared to their heterosexual counterparts. Consequently, they are more likely to seek psychological services. However, many mental health providers are not adequately trained in providing affirming psychological services, which can cause additional harm rather than lowering mental health risks. And also, historically, the psychological field has perpetuated the view that same-gender attractions, behaviors, and also identities should be treated, giving rise to practices that help clients maintain non-homosexual lifestyles. And these practices are not only ineffective at changing sexual orientation, but they are also harmful and often traumatic for clients. Unfortunately, such practices are still, as we said, are still legal and widely practiced in Hong Kong today. The crux of the matter is that the sexual minorities face significant barriers to using mental health services. It is essential to acknowledge the lack of affirmative care for sexual minorities is not solely the fault of mental health providers. Many mental health professionals receive little to no training in providing affirmative care and often feel unprepared to work with this population. And indeed, most do not have any LGBT-specific training during their counseling degree programs. And even practitioners who actually endorse LGBT affirming attitudes report low clinical skills and also preparedness when working with these population. So as a result, they often may have avoid treating LGBT clients for fear of inadvertently causing harm, despite not having any judgmental attitudes. So this underscores the importance and also the necessity of relevant affirmative skills and knowledge training. So given that many mental health providers lack affirmative skills, many LGBT clients actually report negative experience in therapy when seeking counseling services. It's very crucial to understand what LGBT clients expect from a counseling section. To address this, our society actually has conducted preliminary research from March to May 2023 to better comprehend these expectations and also to utilize the findings to inform the content of our counseling handbook. The research, we surveyed 58 local LGBT plus individuals through an online questionnaire on their opinions regarding counseling. And here are the opinions that we have collected. The respondents expect the following in a counseling section, mainly the confidentiality and safe space, counselors' acceptance of their sexual orientation, both through verbal and nonverbal ways, counselors showing a basic understanding of LGBT plus knowledge, and questions out of genuine care instead of being nosy, providing useful information and guidance to them, and what the respondents think will unsettle them in a counseling section is when the counselors are being too counselors knows about their sexual experience, erupts questions about their personal lifestyles, or making heteronormative assumptions and gender stereotypes, judgments and implicit bias of the counselors, discussing coming out issues when actually the clients are unready. And these findings demonstrate the need for mental health professionals to be aware of and to be sensitive to the unique experiences and needs of the LGBT clients and to create a safe and supportive therapeutic environment that foster understanding, empathy, and trust. So the preliminary findings highlight this importance of culturally sensitive and competent mental health services for the LGBT plus community. With this counseling handbook, we aim to provide all the mental health practitioners with knowledge and skills to deliver the LGBT plus affirming services. So according to research, a good affirmative training should contain the following components: competency objectives, knowledge, self-awareness, and also attitudes and skills. And those areas are actually best represented by the ASK model. And therefore, you can see that this counseling handbook actually contains some components that can be mapped onto this ASK model. And this is the framework of how we design the content of this handbook. And now I'm going to introduce some of the distinctive features of this counseling handbook. It actually contains one case example demonstrating assessment and intervention skills in response to the client's current state during a counseling section, 2 self-reflective questionnaires for the counselor to assess their own affirmative attitudes, skills, and knowledge, 3 most common challenges in an affirmative session and provides guidance on the do's and don'ts in those scenarios. And 4 key steps are outlined in adopting an affirmative practices, from environmental manipulation to rapport building to assessment and intervention. And 5 accessible clinical tools, including an assessment scale, psychoeducational materials, and also CBT forms. The handbook includes a case example that demonstrates assessment and intervention skills. The case background is based on many true stories represented by the shared experience of many LGBT clients. And it is also presented as a dialogue excerpt between the therapist and the clients. The therapist skills are highlighted in red, while the client's immediate state or kind of markers that need a response from the therapist are highlighted in green. This case example provides practical guidance on how to apply affirmative counseling skills in real-life settings. And in addition, the handbook includes 2 self-reflective questionnaires. The first questionnaire is translated from the sexual orientation counselor's competency scale, SOCCS, and evaluates the counselor's implicit bias and attitudes toward LGBT clients. It provides a reference point and also relevant content for counselors to reflect on their biases and determine if there is any appropriate refer-out procedures needed. The second questionnaire also kind of evaluate the counselor's affirmative skills and knowledge of different domains. If the counselors are unfamiliar with some directions, they can be quickly guided to the relevant section in the handbook. And moreover, the handbook outlines 3 most common challenges in an affirmative section and provides do's and don'ts based on past research and empirical data. The 3 situations covered are: what if my client comes up to me during my session? And what if my client is considering changing his or her sexual orientation? And what if some LGBT issues conflict with my own personal values? And these sections provide practical guidance on how to handle these sensitive situations with sensitivity and professionalism. And 4 key steps in adopting an affirmative practices based on empirical research and clinical experience. These steps include enhancing the visibility of LGBT clients through environmental manipulation in the counseling center. And by the way, by having these counseling handbook placed in your counseling center is already a way of showing the visibility. And the second step is building rapport with clients. And the third step is assessing using the minority stress model and the general stress model. And the last one is to provide some intervention directions. The minority stress model is actually a framework that explains how social stigma and discrimination contribute to increased stress and mental health problems in minority groups. By using this model, a counselor can actually identify areas of stress and provide appropriate interventions. And the appendix of the handbook contains 5 accessible clinical tools, including assessment scales, psychoeducational materials, and CBT forms. And these materials are designed to be easily understood and available for non-commercial clinical use. So we welcome all the counselors to photocopy them when they are doing their sections. The first one is the lesbian, gay, and bisexual identity scale, which is used for initial assessment of known LGBT clients who present problems they are suspected to be related to their own sexual orientation or sexual minority identities. It is crucial to tailor interventions based on the client's pace in their sexual identity. For instance, if a client is in the identity denial stage mentioned in the CAST model, discussing coming out plans would be too premature and also could scare them away. So we have obtained the permission from the author of these assessment scale to translate it into Chinese for clinical use. And additionally, we have distinguished items with different distinctive colors, as you can see, to facilitate the scoring process. And actually, in this example, a client presents with a recurring low mood, and in the intake form, they disclose feeling isolated from their surroundings due to their sexual orientation. And we actually obtain the score, and then we score 1 for strongly disagree and 6 for strongly agree, and except for 2 reverse items. The subscale score is the mean score of all the means in the subscale, ranging from 1 to 6. It generates a pattern of our clients' responses. So by analyzing the pattern, counselors can determine the best counseling direction according to the client states, the client's current pacing. So we actually recommend for particularly checking some high or low scores, or compare the scores with the means and standard deviations in the original sample of the validation study. And after calculating the mean score for each subscale, some scores are below or above 1.5 standard deviations or even higher. And the score patterns suggest that the client does not affirm his gay identity much and has a high concern with their privacy as an LGBT person. So in this case, the counselors should be very sensitive with the pacing of the clients and avoid touching on some common coming out issues prematurely. And instead, they may have to explore the client's fears and anxieties, dispel some myths and stereotypes about lesbian, gay, bisexual men, and work on their self-affirmation, such as exposing the clients to some positive role models and cultivating self-compassion. Another psychoeducational worksheet in this appendix is about internalized homonegativity, which refers to the negative attitudes and beliefs that the LGBT individuals internalize from the environment. And it is often experienced by many sexual minorities without knowing how the environment contributes to their own problems. And other psychoeducational worksheets can enhance the awareness of how the LGBT individuals internalize this homonegativity from the environment. And additionally, there is a CBT worksheet for recording minority stress, which can be particularly useful for counselors, especially who use CBT as their primary therapeutic approach. There's also a worksheet that provides guidance on the coming out process, including a form to facilitate systematic planning of coming out by weighing the pros and cons and reflecting on the client's pacing. And lastly, as you can see, we have actually put a bookmark in this handbook to help counselors remember the steps in the affirmative counseling section short before meeting the clients. Our team has actually devised a mnemonic for the affirmative counseling process that summarizes the handbook pages 26 to 32. It is printed on a portable bookmark and given to you together with this handbook. The memory of a device is to buy a vase and a dish with a visa. So this acronym represents the 4 steps in report building, vase, and the 4 steps in assessment, dish, okay, and the 4 last key elements in intervention, visa. So vase stands for visibility and assuming nothing, secret keeping for safety reasons, and handling the client's emotion first. Well, dish stands for assessing their discriminatory experiences, internalized homonegativity, stigma, and experience of hiding their own sexual orientation. Visa stands for validating the client's emotions, forming a positive sexual identity if they are confused or they're self-disapproving, building a social network for with allies and also other LGBT peers, and affirming their own uniqueness and values. Okay. So in conclusion, this handbook is a valuable resource with necessary research findings for all the counselors to improve their understanding, sensitivity, and competence in working with LGBT clients. So we hope that this handbook can pave the way for more affirmative practices in mental health services and contribute to closing the gap in the mental health care for sexual minorities. Well, now we would like to extend our gratitude to everyone who participated in the preliminary research and provided their valuable insights as well. So we appreciate the support and encouragement we've received all along. So as mental health professionals, we have the responsibility to provide our best care to all our clients, regardless of their sexual orientation. So by using the knowledge, skills, and also attitudes outlined in this handbook, we can work together to create more inclusive and affirming mental health care environment for all the LGBT clients. So thank you very much. And now we would like to invite another co-author, Dino, to come over. And we're now open to questions and also discussion.
Wow. First of all, I'd like to congratulate the Society for this enormous work. It's a very, very great work of reference. I think I'm a counseling student. I will definitely use it. And I think all counseling students should have this. So I will also see if we can maybe distribute this in our course. But I have a question related to a statement that you made in the beginning. You said sexual minorities in Hong Kong encounter barriers to seeking mental health services. Can you say a little bit more about what these barriers, I mean, I think I know what the barriers are, but how do they overcome them? Or do they not overcome them?
How did the sexual minorities overcome the barrier to seek counseling?
Yes, how do they go about seeking mental health services in Hong Kong? Do they go to social workers? Do they go to their school? How do they go about it? And what are those barriers that in the end keep them at home?
I think for the barriers, I guess one thing is that they are not sure if the therapists are affirming. So usually they take a lot of time to check with the others, like, have you heard of this counselor? Is this affirming or is this homophobic? So they need a lot of research before seeking a counseling. And the second thing is about the price and the accessibility. There is not many visible affirming therapists in Hong Kong. So they do need to search a lot, and that takes a lot of courses and money already and time already, especially for those with depressive symptoms. That is really hard for them to go through such a searching process. So I think that's a barrier. And how do they overcome? Usually when they come to us, it's because they know it's referred by someone. Like, I've heard my friend told me you are affirming, so I would like to have a try. So that's how they usually end up with a therapist. But what we see is that there is really rare, there's really not enough therapists. They are publicly saying, so I'm affirmative. So I think that the barrier still exists here right now.
Yeah, and also in the counseling handbook, we actually cited some response from the respondents in this questionnaire. Some of them actually said that they usually seek counseling services in their surrounding organizations. Some may have a religious background, or some may have some very traditional views, but they have no other choices. So some of them may actually encounter quite traditional or preservative counselors. And some of them actually encounter some counselors that may try to avoid talking about sexual orientations. Maybe they will talk about another topics when the counselor, when the clients raise this topic up. So it kind of shows that not many counselors, despite not saying explicitly that they cannot accept homosexualities, but in their kind of implicit behaviors will show that they will have some bias towards it, like avoiding talking about this topic, or maybe some shocking expressions when they heard about homosexuality. So kind of a microaggressions expressed in these ways.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That it looks like such a great resource. I'm wondering if it's in English, if it's available in English. The reason I say this is I know that there are lots of resources for non-Chinese speakers, from Canada or the US or Australia, but I think it's really important for non-Chinese speakers who are providing services in Hong Kong to have a resource that's based in the Hong Kong context. So if it's not available in English, I would try to persuade you to do that, because I think it's such an important work that you guys are doing, that it would be amazing to have it in other languages.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your appreciation. So, are you
Yeah.
are you ready?
Yeah. Thank you for appreciating that, because we actually just spent around 2 weeks of time after our work to write this handbook. So it is already quite rushed for us at the beginning. But I believe that the input for some English users is very important as well. So we'll think about it. We'll have
But
to
there are many
work on it.
limitations for this booklet as well. So, Society True Light at the beginning, like 2 weeks before, I invite our psychological consultant to make this bookmark. But he make this bookmark and think, oh, it's not elaborative enough. So he make a book to supplement this bookmark. So I think we need a little bit more time to make it in English, and we need more time to fill the gap about transgender and non-binary and a lot of other labels, because this one, within a short time period, we can only focus on LGB clients. So we will take that.
Coming soon.
Yes, thank you. Oh, you promise. Okay. Thank you. And so maybe the next question, maybe 2 more, because I'm aware of the time is 04 already. Maybe 1 to 0.
Okay. Thank you very much for your organizing these 2 days. Wonderful resources for our local practitioners. I'm just wanting to follow up the question first to ask a favor of your society. Since you do so much work, why don't you do some sort of survey or something for the Hong Kong practitioners or counselors who are willing to be either put on the list for LGBT friendly or whatever. So then you actually, as your position, you could establish a list of Hong Kong counselors or Hong Kong CPs who are willing or able to help out on this group of diverse population.
Right. Thank you very much. That's a very great idea. And actually, our society also thought about that, about accreditation system or a list about that. So basically, ACE Concern is listed on our 26. They have a sexuality-friendly medical promotion program that allowed all the therapists, doctors to voluntarily register on it about I'm a affirming therapist. But when we think about that, I have some concerns, like because some friends do ask me, so are these doctors on this list are really affirming? Because the definition of affirming is quite varied on different people. Like as Dr. Craig just said, I am not homophobic, and so I assume I am affirming, but it's not the case. So we have a lot of things to figure out, like how to really do it. Is it by referral or how to gain the credits? I'm not sure, but that's a very good start. And I think we can have more discussion and more initiatives on that. Thank you very much. Maybe the last question, because we have to start our afternoon session at 2 and we have to eat. So maybe the last one. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, to follow up this question, I think you can design a one-day training program for counselors, psychologists, and healthcare professionals to attend the course, and you can give a certificate of completion to them, so they can put it on the list. And actually, you can send a follow-up email after this conference and ask those people if they are interested to put it on the list. Then you can do a follow-up training course for them. So next year, you will have the list. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So that's the reason why this conference exists, is because we want to just get some initiative to have some conferences. I can't say it's a training, but have opportunities for everyone to learn something from these 2 days. That's what we want to at the beginning. So, but yeah, when it's talk about training, then it's also about qualification. But when it's about qualification, then that's tricky. So yeah, it's a good idea, and thank you for raising it out. Maybe we'll think how we can proceed that one. All right, so thank you very much for coming, and thank you for enjoying the morning with me. So we are going to have a break, a lunch break until 2. So in the afternoon, we'll have parallel sessions. Please check our program handbook, because there are 2 different rooms that are happening different things. So make sure you come here on time and enjoy the afternoon. Thank you, and see you soon.